Hello and welcome. You're watching the Brandwalas here on News 9. I am Krishna Kumar, and on this edition of the Brandwalas, we are paying tribute to an advertising legend, an icon who transformed modern Indian advertising, Mr. Piyush Pandey. Piyush Pandey is the first and foremost name as far as India's advertising is concerned. The man who wrote the lines, the iconic lines, "Mile sur mera tumhara." From then on to many, many iconic ad campaigns that have defined advertising in India. Be it the Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai Asian paint ads, or the Kuch Khaas Hai ads of Cadbury dairy milk, or the all famous Fevicol ads. They were all a creation of his mind, his creativity, his passion, and his ingenuity. And today is not with us anymore. And on this show, we are looking back at the legacy of Mr. Piyush Pandey. I have with me in the studio a colleague who, once upon a time, used to work for Mr. Piyush Pandey, who's with us in the studio over here. Amit Ranjan with us. Amit, talk to us. You have been in advertising for very long before you moved over here to television. And once upon a time, he was your boss. Mr. Piyush Pandey was your boss.
Yes, my boss's boss. And my generation, I passed out in the mid-90s. We came into advertising because of the Kuch Khaas Hai Zindagi Mein ad, which blew the Indian advertising industry in those times. I had the opportunity, while I was in advertising, to interview Mr. Piyush Pandey when I used to contribute to the Brief magazine, which was an advertising magazine. This was way back in 1996-97. And later on, while I was assisting Mr. Prasoon Pandey for the Limca ad, in which Ms. Sonali Bendre had featured, Mr. Piyush Pandey was the creative director of Ogilvy. And I had the opportunity of spending 4 to 5 days in Malshej Ghat, where the shoot was happening for this ad, in the presence of Mr. Piyush Pandey.
Right. Fair enough. We will continue speaking with you. We also have some very special guests now joining us. We have Mr. Harish Bijur, brand guru, with us. We also have Mr. Lloyd Matthias, angel investor and business strategist. And we also have Mr. Kiran Khalap, managing director and co-founder, Chlorophyll, and an ad guru himself. Thank you, all of you, for taking time out to be with us. I'm going to begin with Mr. Harish Bijur. Mr. Harish Bijur, your name is synonymous with brands, and when it comes to brands and building brands, nobody better in this country than Piyush Pandey, because he did not sell just products and services. He sold emotions, he sold rootedness and connection with the consumer.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. Today is not a happy day to see Piyush in black and white, and particularly the obituary, video which I just witnessed on your channel. But I think all of us have to go at some point of time or the other. Piyush has left us much earlier. I think Piyush has left his mark, and I think that's very, very important to understand. And that mark is so distinctive because he was the first guy who really started thinking in Hindi. Why Hindi? I mean, I'm on the highway in Bihar at the moment, so I would say that he used to think in Maithil. He used to think in Bhojpuri. He used to think in Magil. So, anybody who thinks in the vernacular is able to connect with the vernacular that much better. And that's exactly the recipe that worked for Piyush. And I think he did great work which we will all remember with and by.
Yeah, and when you talk about Mr. Piyush Pandey's work, it's not the typical ad guru, portfolio that you talk about. You're talking about his first lines that he wrote as a lyricist for, Mile sur mera tumhara. The visuals are running over here. Who can forget Mile sur mera tumhara? And from there on, campaign after campaign that went on to define advertising in this country, and especially those Fevicol ads that just united the country across the board and redefined storytelling per se when it comes to advertising in the country.
Yeah, to an extent, the phrase storytelling is so today, right? It was Piyush's era, And it was Piyush who actually created storytelling in the format that he actually took forward in such a significant manner. So to an extent, I think, Piyush preceded it all. He brought in everything that was real, everything that was solid right in the beginning. And I think that is something which is going to be his hallmark. He was a pioneer in the space. We're going to miss him. Advertising is going to miss him. And most importantly, the kind of work, the body of work that he used to represent is no more with us.
Yep. The body of work, my goodness, what a body of work that we're talking about over here. Mr. Kiran Khalap, you, in a sense, you've been, associated with him for a very long time. You're somebody who's been in the business for decades now. There will be not another Piyush Pandey, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I joined advertising in '83, and in 1995 we started something called a Creative Directors Club, and that is where I interacted the most with Piyush. I have an analogy, with your permission. Can I?
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my analogy is this, and please remember that no analogy is perfect. So, but there are many points which are common. I think of him as the Dhirubhai Ambani of advertising. So if you think about what Dhirubhai Ambani did, there was this entire club of industrialists, studied abroad, main language was English, wanted protection from international brands. And then came Dhirubhai Ambani, English not a strong suit, and democratized business by involving millions of stakeholders and promising them that I will make you a millionaire. If you look at Piyush, when I joined advertising, it was all English writing in English newspapers. And then came the Asiad, 1982, and then came Piyush, and there was this medium called television suddenly because of the Asiad, whose language was not English, whose language was emotions. And that is where Piyush democratized advertising in India. He thought in terms of emotions, he thought in terms of connections at multiple levels to the audiences of India, not just the English-speaking audiences. And that is how he, to me, he is the inflection point of advertising from English only to emotion, from English only to, as Harish pointed out, stories. But there was no looking back after that. And because not just did he do it, he created many other creative directors. To me, that is the hallmark of a great creative director, that he is able to create more creative directors who are able to take this democratized version of advertising deeper and deeper into India.
That's, Lloyd, of all the things that he has contributed, that inflection point of using vernacular in Indian advertising, which was not the case up until, Mr. Piyush Pandey showed up on the scene. He turned the direction of Indian advertising and put it on a path which will ensure that it connects with everybody, from people who, from the smallest of towns, from the smallest of villages to the biggest of cities, because it spoke a language that is close to them. It spoke a language that connected with them immediately. And that probably will be his biggest contribution, apart from the fact that he is also the man who mentored many successful creative directors.
Correct. His language was not English, his language was emotions.
Right, Lloyd.
Absolutely, Krishna. I think it truly is a sad day. And, one often uses the term passing of an era. I think this truly is one. I fully endorse what both Harish and Kiran said. And I think, I would say just one additional point. I think one, he's transformed Indian advertising. So as Kiran said, from a very English-centric, urbane, kind of Western orientation into what really speaks to the heartbeat of India, right? And that transformation is complete and, can only increase. And he's the guy who led the charge. The other point, I think, which is equally critical is Piyush was the first creative head to, in a sense, head the agency, right? Up until him, there was a clear demarcation between creative heads and suits. And in tradition, a lot of the creative heads were backroom boys. So a lot of the business of advertising was fronted by the suits or the account or the client servicing team. And therefore, when brands and businesses dealt with agencies, it was always the servicing people who then kind of translated the brief, so to speak, to the creative and vice versa. I think the sheer power of his personality, the body of his work, ensured that very often Piyush was there at the decision-making table. I had the good fortune of working with him in my 5 years in Motorola. And I think some of the work that was done then was truly a tribute to Piyush's ability to take what is essentially a very technology category and translate into great human emotions. Right? Here was a company based in the US Midwest, very averse to doing advertising internationally. And just the first couple of campaigns he did just made the Americans look up and say, wow, that's something different, right? A bit of a theme that they took into other developing markets as well. So I think the ability to take, a fairly, I wouldn't say a complex category, but a category that's very technology oriented, and then tell a human story that resonates with millions, that actually, as Kiran said, the language was immaterial. It was the language of emotion. I think that he did spectacularly. But most importantly, he got creatives a seat on the table, right? So he was there making decisions. He was there all the while, and always doing it very subtly. I think the humility of the man is something that I want to call out as well. That irrespective of who he was dealing with, the head of business, CEO, a junior brand manager, he was always very civil, and more importantly, took pains to explain the rationale of his creative, why it would do good for the brand, why it would do good for the business, and why it would indeed do good for the career of the marketing person concerned.
All right. Fair enough. We'll take a short breather here at the stage. We will continue this on the other side. Keep it with News 9. You're watching the Brandwalas. I'm Krishna Kumar, and here we are paying our tributes to the advertising legend Piyush Pandey, who unfortunately left us all at the age of 70. And tributes have been pouring in from all across the board. Bear in mind, Piyush Pandey was not just a man who redefined advertising for products and services. He redefined advertising for political campaigns as well. And that is the reason why you're seeing tributes pour in straight from Prime Minister Modi onwards to all major cabinet ministers in the country, all of them pained by the loss of Piyush Pandey, saying that Prime Minister Modi there saying that he made a monumental contribution to India. And it wasn't not just Prime Minister Modi, it was also India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who's also posted on social media platform X. And apart from that, tributes have been pouring in from other people as well, including his family. His sister Ila Arun also posting on social media, apart from Union Minister for IT Ashwini Vaishnav, where he says the legacy of Piyush Pandey ji lives on. Creativity ka jodi hai, tutega nahi. And we also have tributes coming in from Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, as well, where he said he's truly at a loss of words to express his sadness at the demise of Padma Shri Piyush Pandey. Tribute also coming in from Jyotiraditya Scindia as well, again on your screens. And apart from that, MP Anurag Thakur has also posted on social media paying his tributes. Apart from political leaders, tributes have been pouring in from corporate leaders as well, from across the board, everywhere, from the Adani Group to Uday Kotak to many, many others. Piyush Pandey's loss being felt across India Inc. We have with us Lloyd Matthias, angel investor, Mr. Kiran Khalap, Managing Director and Co-founder, Chlorophyll, and an ad guru with us. And also have my colleague Amit Ranjan as well. Amit, you've seen all the tributes that have come in. If there's one anecdote that you can think of, puts it in a nutshell as to what Piyush Pandey was all about from your own interactions with him.
My generation basically came to advertising because of Piyush Pandey. So that is one tribute I can. But the few days that I was able to spend during the shoot with him, it was the after shoot get-togethers that we would have where we would discuss film. And I personally got to know how good an actor Gene Hackman is because of the discussions I had with Mr. Piyush Pandey during that time.
And you worked on that Limca ad that we're playing right now with Sonali Bendre.
It was a Limca ad.
Yeah.
There was a campaign. This was the second one, but the first one was a slightly different, which she's caught in a cycle and she's hanging by the cliff. So yeah, it was the Limca campaign during the same time shot in Malshej Ghat. Yes, I was part of this campaign.
And what was it like? The levels of creativity that you were witness to in creating a campaign like this. Today it seems ordinary, but when it was created, it was the first of its kind, isn't it?
Those were the days when you didn't have that much of CGI. So I can tell you, a cliff was created next to a cliff on Malshej Ghat, and there was iron rods on which there was a certain kind of spray that was done to make them look like tree trunks. So that was the level of creativity, and that was the level they would go to, and how much pains they would take to create something. Everything that can be done in CGI right now.
Yeah, and they had to do it physically.
They had to do it physically. But yeah, it's the after-shoot memories that come back to me right now.
Absolutely, Mr. Kiran Khalap, that's what it is, isn't it? It's one thing to work for Mr. Piyush Pandey and marvel at the genius of what he was trying to accomplish. And the other thing is what happens after he is done with what he is doing, his work, that's when the real man emerges, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So since you mentioned anecdote, I'm going to mention an anecdote which was a favorite of Piyush's. So I don't know how many in the audience know that Piyush was in client servicing. In advertising, you have 3 or 4 departments. You have client servicing, you have account planning, you have media, and you have creative. But he was in client servicing before. And this entire idea that having a sense of humor means not taking yourself seriously, taking your work seriously, that Piyush used to narrate this incidents when he was on the client servicing team of Unilever. And in those days, when you finished a meeting, you had to write minutes and hand them over to the client. So he had invented this idea of writing the minutes immediately after the meeting instead of going back to the agency and sending them over to save time. He had written the minutes and he had either bent down to tie his shoelaces or whatever, but the client happened to open the door at that point in time and hit Piyush on the head. So part of the minutes was client hit agency on the head, agency to revert, which was such incredible thing, tongue-in-cheek humor that he had, where he was laughing at himself and so was the client. So that is the mettle of this person, that he could laugh at himself even in circumstances which were totally different from his normal creative writing.
Lloyd, there's so much that you can talk about Piyush Pandey, but here you have, we have these Fevicol ads that we're running on this show. People who have no interest in advertising, who don't track Feviquick ads as well, people who have no interest in advertising, people who have no connection to the industry or any kind of interest in it, even they know these Feviquick ads. The storytelling in these ads were so iconic that decades down the line, people still remember these ads as one of the best ads that they've ever seen. In fact, on this show, on the Brand Wallas, whenever we speak to any marketing head, they always, and I ask them, what is your all-time favorite ad? Overwhelming majority of them kept speaking about these Feviquick ads. And in that sense, Mr. Piyush Pandey put advertising front and center, top of mind of people across the board, isn't it?
Yes. You should also
absolutely,
remember.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Please, Lloyd, go ahead.
Yes, absolutely, Krishna. I think there's a key point in the thing that you said. I think one was the fact that a lot of his advertising ended up being cultural markers, right? The reason they're so memorable, a lot of the work for Fevicol, for Cadbury is, over time, right? One has seen great, and Asian Paints, if I would call out a few, they've been cultural markers. A lot of those lines have passed on into people's language. Har ghar kuch kehta hai, kuch khas hai. I think a lot of that is the ability to actually create memorable advertising without taking oneself too seriously. At the same time, lines that endure and campaigns that seamlessly move from one to the other. While everyone loves Fevicol advertising, different people have different takes. Some like ad A, B, and C. And I would say over the last, couple of decades, the 20 or 30 great campaigns that Fevicol done all have a common theme through them. So the ability to string together stories springing out of a common thought, mined out of deep consumer insight, rooted in reality, was really Piyush's lasting contribution, right? That's, to my mind, one of the ways he changed advertising. The other point I wanted to also draw out, and I think Kiran did briefly mention it, was also the fact that he used humor very cleverly at two levels. One, in humor in his advertising, but also the persona, right? One thing that defined Piyush when he came into the room was, of course, that big loud guffaw. He had this huge laughter, and of course, his famous moustache. I think Piyush used humor to lighten things. Very often, conversations in boardrooms with marketing heads tend to get very technical. It's about, is my product being seen enough? Is the logo long enough? Will people notice the product? Is there a shot where the protagonist is consuming my product? I think he was able to kind of laugh it off and then say that what people remember is a story that makes them think or feel good, right? It's not about those little moments. And oftentimes, and I've been on the client side, I plead guilty to that, clients tend to get a little pedantic about pack shots and, can my pack shot be longer? Can my logo hang in there longer? I think he did take that effort to educate a lot. And a lot of his work is education in itself, that advertising is more than just pack shots and logos. It's really about telling a story that people want to remember and see again and again.
Fair enough. Before we wrap this discussion up, I'm going to ask Mr. Kiran Khalap, and in fact all of us on the panel, to do a one-line copy, one-line note, tribute to Mr. Piyush Pandey. He has written so many great copies and so many great lines. Mr. Kiran Khalap, if I were to ask you the one line that you would definitively give as your tribute to Mr. Piyush Pandey.
Unfortunately, it won't be in Hindi. It will have to be in English.
Go ahead, sir.
I would say the great democratizer of Indian advertising.
The great democratizer of Indian advertising. Lloyd, if I can come to you, your one-line copy tribute to Mr. Piyush Pandey.
Kuch Khaas Hai, Piyush mein.
Well, that's one of his own lines, but Kuch Khaas Hai, Piyush mein. I'm going to come to take that to my colleague Amit Ranjan also, who's with us, who once upon a time used to work for him. Amit, there's so many fantastic lines. I'm sure so many lines are going on inside your own head. But now your one-line tribute to Mr. Piyush Pandey.
I'll parrot a line that my generation used to repeat, because of which we came into advertising. Kuch Khaas Hai advertising mein. That was the ad that got my generation to advertising.
Kuch Khaas Hai, and so many lines, but all I can say is har ad kuch kehta hai, and har Piyush ka ad kuch kehta hai would be my way of giving my tribute to him. And because he had so many stories to tell, so many emotions to convey, and he did it so successfully for so many decades, that today, when you're remembering him, we only remember all those wonderful lines that he wrote for us, I'm afraid. With that, we've completely run out of time here on this special edition of the Brandwalas. Lloyd, Matthias, and Kiran Khalap, thank you so much for being with us, and my colleague Amit Ranjan as well. Thank you for being with us here in the studio. And with that, it's a wrap here from my side. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.